Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. Donald Trump does not take things seriously. He certainly does not take even serious things seriously, like our national secrets. And the New York Times has now broken a story that, according to multiple sources familiar with it, multiple countries' spies are listening in on his phone calls because he refuses to do even the bare minimum necessary to secure that sort of information. American spy agencies say that they've learned that China and Russia have both been eavesdropping on the president's cell phone calls. Now, there's human sources inside those governments and also communications that have been intercepted between those officials. So you have both sort of, I guess, first-person accountings from inside of those countries, but you don't necessarily have to trust those. They could be sort of just attempting to talk up their capabilities. But we actually have found out that they have been spreading information talked about on Donald Trump's phone calls, that these foreign officials have been communicating with each other about it. Now, why is this happening? Well, officials say that the president has 2 official iPhones that have been altered by the NSA to limit their abilities and vulnerabilities, and a third personal phone that is no different from hundreds of millions of iPhones in use around the world. Now, Mr. Trump keeps the personal phone because, unlike his other 2 phones, he can store his contacts in it. So he has been given 2 iPhones that you can use, and you can make phone calls, and you can make texts, and you can go on the internet, and you can lie in tweets and all of that, but he can't store his contacts. And so because of that, he just decides, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna use my personal phone. And sure, if I'm talking about trade policy, or if I'm talking about foreign policy, if I'm talking about exactly the sort of materials that China and Russia desperately want to have access to, I'm just gonna talk about it late at night when I'm talking to one of my donors, or maybe I call up Sean Hannity and I have a little chat. You know, I'm feeling an energy high from the Big Mac I just scarfed down. I'm gonna talk about sensitive materials and I don't care who actually finds out about it. Now, his aides have apparently repeatedly warned him that his cell phone calls are not secure, and they've told him that Russian spies are routinely eavesdropping on the calls, but he just doesn't care. Aides say that he's been pressured into using the secure landline more, but he's still refused to give up his iPhones. White House officials say, and God is this sad, they can only hope he refrains from discussing classified information when he is on them. But as sad as that is, the state that we're in as a country, where we just have to hope that the president just doesn't mention certain things because he can't be bothered to actually be responsible when it comes to spreading national security secrets and information. Catherine Rampell also tweeted this out. White House officials say that they have further confidence that he was not spilling secrets because he rarely digs into the details of the intelligence he has shown and is not well versed in the operational specifics of military or covert activities, which I love. That is a complex way of saying we don't have to worry about him spreading the most secure or sensitive information because he doesn't understand it himself. He actually can't repeat it because he can't be bothered to read the materials, and complex details about the way operations are actually put into effect, the way that they are conducted, he doesn't get that stuff. So the thing that might secure our secrets is his own stupidity and ignorance. And then I think of the Russian and Chinese spies listening to this phone call, just desperately, they're talking about a raid that's gonna go on in Yemen. This dude doesn't know anything. He's given us nothing. How frustrating of a job must that actually be? But there are things that he talks about that are important. Apparently the Chinese are spying in because they want to understand what moves they need to make or shouldn't make when it comes to the escalating trade war between us. And he loves to talk about that stuff, especially with his businessman friends. And so China is getting very important information. And look, from pragmatically, forget that, I despise Donald Trump and I don't want him to be president. If you want him to do well, if you want America to come out on top in these, albeit unnecessary, trade negotiations and the trade war that he's developing, even if that is if you're a Republican, do you want him spreading information to China before we go to the negotiating table, before he sits down with their leaders? Do you really think that that is where we should be at as a country? And it's not like Republicans haven't in the past cared about the sensitivity of material and how materials, government secrets are being secured. They lost their S over Hillary Clinton's email server. They didn't think that she should be putting that on a private server. That's government information. That needs to be secured by the government. How is she doing this in that way? But even in that case that Republicans still talk about to this day, it was still a secure server. It was just a private one. Donald Trump looks at two phones on a nightstand, the one that's secured and the one that's not, and like a petulant child, even though he's been warned, he still picks up the personal unsecured phone. That is how little he cares about our nation's secrets, that he can't even be bothered to remember a phone number. He'd rather just get his contact out of the one that's spilling secrets to the Chinese and the Russians. That is where we're at as a country. Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.